Imagine finding out that almost every choice you make isn't actually being made by you. There is a hidden version of you running the show. It's older, it's faster, and it is making your decisions up to 10 seconds before you even realize it. Today, we're exploring the hidden architecture of the subconscious mind, and this is going to completely redefine who is actually at the steering wheel of your life. Back in 2008, a neuroscientist named John Dylan Haynes ran a brain imaging study that honestly sent absolute shockwaves through the scientific community. He simply asked people to press a button with their left or right hand whenever they felt the urge. But here's the crazy part. Haynes and his team could look at the brain scans and predict which hand the person was going to use a full 10 seconds before the participant consciously felt like they were making a choice. Wait, 10 full seconds? You're saying that before I even have the conscious thought to do something, my brain has already locked in that decision entirely in the background? No way. Does that mean the actual feeling of making a choice is just an illusion? It really makes you question things, doesn't it? Let's look at the actual chronology of a choice. 10 seconds out, measurable neural activity fires up. Then, at 550 milliseconds before you move, we see something called the readiness potential building in your brain. That was discovered by Benjamin Libet. 0 seconds, well, that's the exact moment you finally experience the conscious awareness of deciding. And then, you take the physical action. So that subjective feeling of deliberation, that whole experience of weighing your options, it's really just a story your conscious mind tells itself after your hidden brain has already acted. Okay, but if the subconscious mind is jumping the gun and initiating everything before we're even aware of it, then what exactly is consciousness doing? Do we actually have any real control over our own lives? Or are we literally just passengers watching a movie we can't even pause? That is exactly the question. And here's the crucial realization about free will. Consciousness might not be the thing initiating your actions, but it acts as the ultimate monitor and veto system. True free will isn't really about originating a choice out of thin air. It's your vital capacity to stop yourself from acting on an impulse that your subconscious has already queued up. It's not so much free will as it is the power of free won't. The invisible iceberg, the true scale of your mind. We're all familiar with the classic iceberg metaphor, but it perfectly illustrates the staggering reality of what's happening beneath the surface. The conscious part of you, the part you're using right now to listen and process this, is just that tiny tip breaking the water. But that massive, invisible structure below the surface, that's what's actually keeping the whole thing afloat. To really grasp this, consider the sheer mathematical reality of your brain's processing power. Your conscious mind handles about 50 bits of information per second. Your subconscious mind, 11 million bits per second. So when it comes to raw processing power, your conscious mind is completely mathematically outmatched by your hidden programming. That math is just wild to me. It means 95% of our entire cognitive function, our perceptions, our habits, our emotions, everything happening in our body is taking place entirely in the dark. We're left with this tiny 5% sliver for conscious thought. It really drives home how dominated we are by a system we can't even look at. Your unchosen childhood programs. This brings up a huge question. Where exactly did that 95% get its instructions from? You definitely didn't consciously sit down and install the programs driving your adult life right now. Well, for the first 7 years of your life, you were essentially walking around in a literal hypnotic trance. During that early developmental window, human brains operate mostly in what's called a theta state. It's a slow brainwave frequency identical to hypnosis. This means your critical faculty, that mental filter judging whether information is true or helpful, was completely offline. Every behavior, every emotional reaction you witnessed was absorbed directly into your subconscious architecture without a single filter. So a completely unexamined moment from your childhood easily solidifies into the automatic patterns dictating your life today. If you repeatedly heard, "we can't afford that," your brain installed a permanent program of scarcity and money fears. If you experienced unpredictable emotional reactions from caregivers, your biology encoded a deep belief that relationships are just inherently unreliable. Praised solely for performing well, your hidden brain wrote a rigid rule saying your basic human worth is totally dependent on your achievements. That explains so much about human frustration. If these deep-seated programs have been locked in since we were kids, why does trying to change them feel so incredibly impossible? Why does sheer willpower always seem to run out and fail us? Because using willpower forces your conscious prefrontal cortex into a direct fight with your heavily automated basal ganglia. The basal ganglia handles your habits, and remember, it operates thousands of times faster than your conscious thought. Applying willpower against a subconscious program is literally like trying to stop a rushing river with your bare hands. It might work for a minute or two, but it guarantees exhaustion and eventual failure. The second your attention slips, the river just keeps flowing exactly as before. How belief becomes biology, the body connection. The stakes here go way beyond just your daily habits or emotional reactions. Your subconscious mind doesn't merely dictate your behavior, it is the absolute master of your physical biology. The science of psychoneuroimmunology reveals something pretty terrifying. Those unexamined low-level threat responses running constantly in the background actually degrade your cellular health. Subconscious background stress actively suppresses your immune function. It increases chronic inflammation, it disrupts your hormonal balance, and it measurably accelerates biological aging. And this is all happening without you even noticing it. That open-label placebo research is absolutely mind-blowing. Patients are explicitly told they are taking sugar pills. They know for a fact there is zero medicine in there, but they still heal from conditions like chronic back pain. The subconscious mind triggers these massive physiological healing responses based purely on the expectation and the ritual of the treatment. The body responds to the signal, not the substance. That is just incredible. Rewiring your hidden brain. This brings us to the most empowering reality of neuroscience. Yes, it might feel like you're at the mercy of a stranger running your mind and body, but you are absolutely not permanently stuck with this unchosen programming. The secret to actual behavior change is bypassing the conscious mind entirely and communicating directly with that hidden architecture. Hypnotherapy achieves this by helping you re-enter those childhood data states to install new patterns directly. Meditation rewires the system by training your prefrontal cortex to observe rather than just react. And neuroplasticity allows you to physically carve out brand new biological pathways into your brain through repeated conscious choice. Take meditation, for instance. It doesn't just calm you down, it physically alters the structural anatomy of your brain over time. It increases gray matter density in your prefrontal cortex and literally reduces the reactivity of your amygdala. You are building the physical hardware needed to create a vital gap. That tiny gap gives you the crucial milliseconds required to notice an impulse and exercise your conscious veto power. This is the realization that just shifts everything. Because our brains were physically shaped by past experiences, by environments and words we never chose, they can absolutely be reshaped by our intentional actions today. Neuroplasticity isn't just some biological buzzword. It's lifelong proof that we can form new neural pathways. Change is genuinely always available to us. Exactly. The distance between the life you were living automatically and the life you could live intentionally is exactly the distance between the programs you currently have and the programs you choose to build. You didn't choose the fears or the limitations that were installed when you were young, but the brain that learned one way of being can absolutely learn another. You have the power to take the wheel of your own mind. The only question remaining is what you will choose to program next.